following is an interview we had with Council Leader Shane Moore. Since we have no crew on the Hartlepool side now, it was recorded via Skype before the leisure development vote in the council. Our intention was to get it out a few days later. However, we had some issues with the audio, and poor Steve has painstakingly tried to doctor it. Plus, every time a call came into the council leader, we lost the connection and we had to snick bits out. But who in the media hasn't had some audio issues, right? And as we've been traveling, it's taken a bit of a time to edit. But the aim of Hartlepool TV, however, is not to look pretty. Lucky old me. But to get the information out there. So here's the interview. Council Leader Moore answers questions about the Tees Valley Combined Authority money, overreaching council departments that are giving residents so much grief at the moment, the May 2020 elections and to Brexit Party or not Brexit Party, plus more. Remember, we're still looking out for you, and if we can help, just get in touch. A big welcome to Leader of Hartlepool Borough Council, Councillor Shane Moore. Welcome.
Hi, Pam.
Little bit of a lag there from responses, but we'll plough on over that. There's technology for you. Now, the state of Hartlepool when you took over was awful. Let's just be honest. The finances, the way the town looked. You've only been in the office 8 months as leader. How much have you managed to rectify in this short time?
Well, I think the first thing, and I said this at the time, was we needed to tackle the budget deficit. The council was spending £5.6 million a year more than it was bringing in. So we can't invest in any services. We can't do anything unless we tackle that problem. So that's what we set the task. And I'm pleased to say that in the short space of time, we've brought that budget deficit down to just over £500,000. There is more to do, but that's where we are currently. And I have every confidence that we'll be able to get that eradicated in the coming months.
I know, because you had to raise taxes, and everybody just groaned, didn't they? I mean, how bad is it? Will there ever, because Hartlepool's still paying one of the biggest council tax bills in the country. Will there ever be a time when Hartlepool residents can have just a couple of years where they don't have their taxes raised?
I will hope so, yeah. But the problem is, and look, the prospect of raising council tax broke my heart. It's not something I wanted to do. But when you open the books and you realise how bad it was, we had very little choice. And I have to be honest and admit that. But the point is, this year, we can't give a council tax freeze. We can't make reductions or do anything else until we sort the current financial mess out. And once that's done, we'll be able to breathe again. Because if we don't have the money to provide the legal services we have to for our elderly people in care and for our looked after children and everybody else, then we're buggered, really. But the point is, it wasn't just about making savings, the budget that we've just passed. We've invested, or rather we've put together a capital investment pot of around £50 million. And what we'll be doing is investing an awful lot of that into schemes that will actually generate the council money in different ways. So that in future, the council won't just be reliant on council tax increases in going forward, because we will be getting money coming in through other more commercial ways, because the council can't just continue kind of hounding people and taking council tax off them. We need to be more business-like.
Well, no, because eventually nobody would be able to afford to live in Hartlepool, would they? But it is. There's so many points I have to discuss with you, but hopefully we'll get through most of the topics that people want to talk about the most.
Yeah.
And one of the ways I think, instead of just spending money like on Church Street, where once it's gone, and there's no residual income from it. The 4 other towns covered by the Tees Valley, Hartlepool was very blessed to get a lot of additional money from the Tees Valley Combined Authority 2 million each year for 5 years, and then a further 25 million. And the key to even attempting to give everyone a tax break is to make this money work for us, so it's an investment where we get income back. What plan come up with for this additional money?
Well, you'll see that in the capital investment report that's coming to Finance and Policy at the end of this month. All of the detailed spending plans are in there, and we'll be able to share all of those details with yourself and residents after that committee's gone forward. But there's
But yeah. Will they, it's not just we spend the money and then that's it. Will there be, we spend the money and it creates residual income for Hartlepool, so we don't have to keep putting taxes up?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what the whole point of it, the capital investment project has been. So, I mean, there's £15 million worth of new council housing that we're proposing to build. Not only will it provide good quality, decent sized houses for residents of Hartlepool, but that's income coming back into the council and helping to fix the deficit within the housing revenue account. Similarly, the likes of the Borough Hall and the Town Hall Theatre, they've lost money for years, and yet they're great assets. We should be celebrating those assets. We should be utilising them for the great venues that they are, and putting on music productions and theatre, and actually generating money for the council from that. So that's why we're investing into those assets as well, to make sure that we're actually, well, they're wiping their face and also generating income for us.
The Mill House, the leisure centre development, that's going to be at Jackson's Landing, right?
That's the preferred option, yeah.
All right. So will that generate income? Is that leisure development, is it your intention, like, for instance, house, Olympic trials and get people coming into the town and spending money in shops and businesses? Is that what that's designed to do? I mean, yeah, as well as providing, it's going to be important for Hartlepool residents because, of health issues and keeping fit and somewhere to go or something to do for kids and everything. But is it also going to generate different groups to come into town to spend money and hopefully, raise everybody's income?
Absolutely it is. And the whole point of it is to make sure that we're not just building a new leisure centre, but we're building a leisure attraction as well. So if you look at the likes of Haven Point, which was built at South Tyneside, it's a fantastic facility, and people come from far and wide to use it. And we have numerous members of the public who've contacted us during the consultation period, and staff within the Civic Centre themselves, who say that they refuse to go to the swimming baths at Mill House because they want something that's going to be a bit more fun. They want something that they can take their kids to, where there'll be slides or splash pads. So they're travelling out of town currently and going to places like Stockton or Bishop Auckland and places like that. Whereas if we provide a first-class facility here, we'll be able to keep our own people here, but also attract more people in. But similarly, all of our swimming clubs at the minute, they're having to hold galas elsewhere. So right now, whenever there's a swimming gala going on, they usually take place in places like the Neptune Centre in Middlesbrough. And that can generate an awful lot, not only generate an awful lot of money, but it's for the facility itself, but it's bringing lots of people into the town as well, with the knock-on effect of them spending money within the town and with local businesses.
Well, which is good to know, because we've got to use this money wisely, haven't we? Otherwise, residents are not going to get any tax breaks. But the other good thing about it, Jackson's Landing, it was, when we interviewed you last time about it, the response we got from that interview when you first said, the leisure centre was going to go somewhere else, was that it be central, so that people from every single ward would just be able to do one bus ride into it. I think that being in Jackson's Landing, you probably have achieved that. Is everybody on board with that?
It seems so, yeah. And to be honest, the marina is a good central position for the facility to be built in. It's on a couple of the main arterial bus routes. The number 6 doesn't run straight past it, but it's no different to how far the number 7 doesn't run past Mill House currently. So it swings and roundabouts, and it's still very close. But similarly, the other benefits of building it on Jackson's Landing is there is money allocated to that site from the combined authority. So there's a big chunk of the money that it's going to cost to build that facility is going to be coming from the combined authority. Whereas if we built it anywhere else, that's money that we as a council would have to borrow or find from elsewhere. So what we're doing is actually being clever about it and utilising the finances that are available and getting a fantastic facility for the minimum amount of money from the local taxpayers.
Yeah, which would be ideal. But that's still got to come up for a vote, has it?
Yes, so the whole capital investment plan will come to Finance and Policy at the end of this month. Thursday. Sorry, I was just looking at the calendar. This Thursday.
Okay, well, we'll look with that with interest. But I mean, it sounds a little bit like a no-brainer, but we'll wait and see.
Let's hope so. Yeah.
We've been very critical of the way some departments have been run. Because they seem to be targeting residents unfairly, like the highways department not staying on top of projects, utility companies not finishing off. And we sent you this in advance, and it's coming up on the screen for our viewers to see now. This was a repair in the Fens and Rosmere ward, which is diabolical, isn't it? I mean, absolutely diabolical.
Yeah, looking at the pictures, it is. Yeah, I mean, you sent that just as at the start of the weekend, and unfortunately didn't get a chance to action it as I was tied up with a charity thing all weekend. But looking at it today, I've passed it on to officers, and they're going to be chasing that one up.
Because I mean, we don't know who did it. We don't know whether the council did it or whether it was a utility company. We don't know the background behind it. But whoever it is, it just straps of, oh, well, it's only Hartlepool, it doesn't matter. And that
shouldn't be at all, though. I don't care who's done it. That shouldn't be the attitude, and that shouldn't be the end result.
No, but it does. I don't entirely get the feeling that you've kicked that attitude out of all the council departments yet. You know, because there's jobs that are started, highways projects started, and they're left with nothing much going on them, and nobody's on them to chase them and say, hey, come on, you know, you've got to be getting on with this. Our residents are being inconvenienced by this. Do you feel that you've still got a ways to go to instill that urgency into, you know, the council staff to say, come on, we've got to do better?
I think it has started to change. You're right. There's still work to go, and there's still more to do, but it does take time, and we've had, like you said earlier, we've had 8 months to change an awful lot. So it's just slowly. Yeah.
I know it's not that long, but I mean, some of these things are desperate. Also, there's the planning and conservation department. Now, they've been targeting residents to change their windows. I mean, and some of it just doesn't make any sense at all. There's people that have had previous permission to put certain windows in, and now they're being told it's not right. There was one case where there was a terrace, 3 identical windows, and only the people in the middle were targeted to say, well, you've got to change your windows at the cost of thousands of pounds. And it's just so stressful. There doesn't seem to be a uniform policy or a policy that makes any sense. What is it that you can do about that? Because this is just not fair for residents.
No, you're right. It isn't. But it's important. I'll address the shortcomings around the service and when it's targeting people. But I think it's also fair to say that when you look at the problem more broadly, you might have 2 people or 3 houses on a terrace where they all have very different windows, but 2 of them might have had windows installed under a previous policy decision years ago, and therefore it can't be changed. Whereas if somebody's just recently moved in and put the wrong windows in without getting planning permission, of course, that would need to be tackled because it's within the legal time frame. However, where you're right is that the policy is actually quite broad. There's no kind of really stringent regulation on it must be X, Y, and Z. So it's how that's being interpreted by officers, and there is work to do on that. And I've been working with my ward colleague Tim Fleming around the conservation areas, because we need to be pragmatic as well, and we need to be we need to actually help residents, because it's easy to just go in and say they're the wrong windows, get them out. But actually what we should be doing is saying they're the wrong windows, but you know what? Let's have a chat about it and we'll tell you how we can sort that out, or be proactive and try and make sure that when somebody moves into a new property that's in a conservation area, get in touch with them straight away and say, look, if you're going to make any changes to your property, you are in a conservation area, so get in touch with us and we'll talk things through with you and make sure that anything that is done right the first time, and it'll cause no hassle for you, and we'll be happy and have no problems with it.
Would it be an idea to help residents to give estate agents a heads up and say, look, if somebody's thinking about buying a property, they've got to make sure everything's right, they don't have any additional expenses when they move in, or if a property is willed, somebody dies and it's a will to somebody else, because that's another case that was brought to our attention where, you know, it was going to cost so much money, and the person that was, you know, getting the property couldn't afford to put the windows in, you know, so there's all this kind of thing. But do you realise the sort of stress it puts residents under when?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I get contacted by residents. As I say, being a Headland councillor, I get contacted by residents frequently because we have a conservation area within the ward.
Right. One of the other departments that we've always been bashing is the media department. Now, the Tees Valley Combined Authority often put out press releases about jobs fairs, about new business opportunities, and Hartlepool Borough Council never seemed to republish these things that directly could affect Hartlepool businesses and people looking for jobs. Why don't you republish the Tees Valley Combined Authority when it could be somebody could get a job or somebody could get additional money for their business?
As far as I was aware, we do. And I know we have seen stuff republished previously, and I've certainly shared things as well. But it goes into the local press too.
But we particularly haven't seen any, so we've been republishing a lot from the Tees Valley, simply just to give, you know, people of Hartlepool a heads up, you know, that this is happening. They get this grant for a business or whatever. You know, information about the airport doesn't seem to be going out. You know, the fact that they got new destinations, we've never seen that.
Yeah, well, I guess if it's a press release just from the Combined Authority saying stuff like that, then they send that out to all of the media outlets anyway, and they do their bit. But if what they're doing is sending out information and encouraging businesses to come forward to apply for grants or this, that, and the other, I know for a fact that we have republished those in the past, because I can think of an example around farming subsidies that we did recently with them.
I have to switch topics because obviously you've got things to do, and this would be too long otherwise. The elections are coming up in May 2020. It's a huge deal for the town, as instead of just the usual rotation, all the currently elected councillors are up for re-election. Firstly, can you explain to everyone in layman's language what the boundary changes mean to the town and why this is happening?
It's happening because the Boundary Commission decided that Hartlepool was growing in population size faster than they thought we would last time they came and had a look at the place. And so they basically told us that they're doing a boundary review, and we've just had to work with them to try and figure something out. So as part of the review, all it means really is that somebody from down London's come up, redrawn the map of our ward slightly, and told people that you're going to have 3 extra councillors. Is
that ward?
No. So 3 extra councillors in total. So instead of there being 11 wards, the Boundary Commission have created a 12th ward, which will have 3 councillors. But again, that wasn't really within our power. It came as a decision from the Boundary Commission.
So what's the extra ward called?
Oh, so it's split. So the Fens, which used to be Fens and Greetham, it used to be Fens and Rosmere. It's now become Fens and Greetham, and Rosmere has become a ward of its own. I think that's the main change in the new wards come from.
Okay, got it. What's going to happen to the Brexit Party? Because you were the Independents, an independent union, then Brexit Party. Are you going to remain as a bloc? Are you all going to go totally independent individually?
Well, that's a question for individual members, really. When we moved over to the Brexit Party, I made it very clear at the time that the reason I was doing it was to send a message to Westminster politicians that we were fed up, that they were messing around and they weren't delivering on the democratic will of the people, and we wanted them to get Brexit done. It looks like, thankfully, that's now happening, and I'm very pleased that it will be, and I'm very thankful that the Conservative Party have delivered on the promise.
Are you standing again?
Well, it depends how tired I am, but yes, I would like to. Yeah.
In our post bag, probably the most pressing issue that keeps coming up is, why does everybody keep playing politics? Why is it that, Labour will automatically oppose anything that you come up with and vice versa? Why can't everybody just get on and stop the politics, especially when it became so bitter with Brexit? Why can't everybody now just put politics aside, forget whether you're Labour or Conservative or Independent or whoever you are? Why can't you just all get on together, is what the post bag is asking, for the sake and the good of the town?
And to be fair, Pam, that's what we said going into the May elections last year. And that's what we tried to do after the May elections last year. And that's what we've tried to do ever since. We've sat around the table and worked with councillors from all parties. And what's disappointing is that during committee meetings or anything else, decisions will be taken and people are happy to work alongside each other. But once it gets to full council turns into a pantomime and people just start grandstanding and kind of going back on what they'd said previously. So it's very disappointing, if I'm perfectly honest. I'm happy to work with anybody as long as what we're doing is in the best interests of Hartlepool. I'll continue to do that. I don't care which party you represent. If you've got the best interests of my town at heart, I'll happily sit down and work with you. But unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be the case from certain quarters. And I think the sad reality is there are a lot of councillors who would like to do that, but they're being held hostage by party members who aren't necessarily prepared to throw their hat in the ring and stand for council themselves.
Well, there's no question about it. That's the overwhelming issue people have. Can we just stop with all the politics and just whatever's good for the town? Let's get the town, really thriving again. And on that note, and I know you're going to groan with this, and it seems like I've bashed you from pillar to post this time, but I promised one resident I would bring this up with you, and this is the one resident. Can't you get sponsorship for all the roundabouts on the way into the town and plant some flowers so Hartlepool looks beautiful and people might want to invest in it? I know.
No. We've actually been trying to. 13 Group are prepared to pay to do the roundabout at the Bruss and the one next to the Travellers. Is it the Travellers or the Dalton Lodge? I always get the two mixed up. So there's 2 getting done, and we are looking at ways to fund the rest of them. So you can tell that viewer that yes, we're certainly looking at that. Yeah.
All right. Well, they'd kill me if I didn't ask. So thank you for that answer. And listen, Thank you very much for your time. I know it's not an easy job. I'm sorry if it looks like I've been hammering you today, but you just gotta ask these questions in the hope that people from Hartlepool will just not pay taxes, will live in a lovely place, and everybody in the council that works for the council will do things to help them and be the champion of the people. I mean, that's what we want, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. And so I would encourage those very people, those very future champions, to come forward and stand for council in May, if that's what they would wish to do.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, you could, yes, absolutely, you're absolutely right. Let's hope that some really good, decent people get elected, and it's just what's best for the town. Full stop. Let's hope so.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for staying late to do this.
No problem. Have a good day, Pam.
Give our love to everybody there.
Will do. Bye-bye.